Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast. Welcome back to the October Mega Marathon. Welcome back to the X Trilogy, the dead center of the X Trilogy, number 2, Pearl. We are joined again. Well, I'm your host, Josh Griffey. Sorry, we're just going so hot this morning. We're so excited for this movie. Joined again by returning co-host, friend, our lifesaver whenever we need help. We call Carmelita Valdez McKoy. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, friends.
All right. So Carmelita, as of now, who knows? Maybe if we get in even more trouble, you hear more and more of Carmelita as the month goes on. As of now, we have taken from Carmelita enough time to do Critters, the entire franchise coming up next, and the X Trilogy. So today we find ourselves at Pearl. Pearl, one of the things I love about this franchise is that each movie, while connected loosely sometimes, each movie feels like its own kind of unique entry. It's a different kind of genre. It's a different kind of style. I think Pearl is the most singular of the X franchise, right? Pearl is the one that feels not quite like the others, right? It's a true slow burn. You have to earn your kind of horror moments in this, right? A lot of it is just existential dread. A lot of it was feeling like it was playing exactly like the world in which this movie was made with the pandemic. So a lot of good stuff, but I got so excited I forgot to talk about a little business.
You got business.
We got business. Everyone, please go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod this month to make sure you get all 31 of the episodes, not 28, 31. The patrons selected 2 Patreon exclusives, and we have a feature-length commentary on House over there. Just a wild fucking movie. We would love for you to do that with us. Also, we just finished season 4 of Tales from the Crypt on that miniseries. Season 5 will be starting right after we finish all of the episodes for October. So patreon.com/filmalchemistpod is the best way to support the show. Please help us out, especially this month. It means a lot to us. The YouTube is Film Alchemist. We're on all the socials. If you can share clips, interactions, all that kind of algorithm stuff there, that helps us out a lot, especially on TikTok. That means the world to us. You can email us, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews on all your pod apps. And again, we work for the algorithm, guys. The algorithm is the mean German mom that won't let us be stars. And we need your help to fucking throw her down the stairs. Hard. That's what we need from you.
Don't let her steal your joy.
That's right. Don't let her do that. That's us. Go leave a 5-star. It's a real spit in her face. That's what we need. And then go to misfitparade.net. You can see the movies I'm making. We will soon be doing some crowdfunding for our first feature film, Mr. Cream Jean's Hidey Hole. We've already been filming some of it. It's been a very good time. Also, make sure you go to Looper and check out the video chats I'm doing with my friends over at Looper. See me from the belly button up, talking movies. Also, our short film for Misfit Parade, Sugar Tits, is playing around the country. So if you're hearing this in October, there's a good chance I will be in a city near you at some point. I would love to watch that with you. All right, anyways, enough business. You heard my spiel about Pearl, Carmelita.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is, to me, my favorite of the 3. I think X might have achieved the most as far as pleasing the largest percentage of people who watch it, right? That movie's hitting on multiple levels pretty well. To me, this movie is such a step up across the board. Well, maybe not being as surface level engaging to some, which I have heard. What do you think? What are your opening thoughts on Pearl?
I love Pearl. I love it. This is my favorite of the trilogy.
Yeah.
And even as a standalone movie.
Yes. That's the nice thing about being the first one or the sequel or prequel. Sorry, words are hard.
But you know how
Prequel.
some prequels you really have
Well, prequels that do a
really
lot of
have
that,
to see it.
They'll say a thing and it's almost like you can see the camera, like the character turning and looking at you like, remember? This one,
the first movie
doesn't
this
have
one,
that. The real
more
holdover
subtle.
of this one is just we see where it goes for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this kind of like looming dark specter.
Yes.
And not looming for long because she fucking kills that goose right quick.
Yes.
in what feels like it doesn't feel like farm murder. It feels like I grew up in a farm town. It doesn't feel like farm murder, like for food and sustenance. This feels like I'm gonna pretend my mom's a goose murder. So
Yeah.
again, it's not a kind of looming darkness that like takes long to drop. But other than that, yeah, it's just maybe Howard, right? Because she talks to him a lot and you don't see him. But yeah, it's just these kind of things that even if you've never seen X, it's still right there. It's not lessened in any way.
No, I love it. I love it. I This movie is campy.
Yeah.
It's bright. It harkens back to classic Hollywood,
Technicolor.
Technicolor,
Yeah.
melodramas. I just think it's so much fun. And also, there's all of the layers, like all the psychological stuff of
Yeah.
this really messed up family and this very troubled young woman.
Yes.
I think I've already seen it a
troubled.
handful of times since it came out. I just adore this movie. It really is.
Mhm.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, well, I think that's the difference, right? Is that X and Maxine have this surface layer of like titillation, right? It's set in an era that we kind of instantly relate to like fun and sexiness. It has these kind of porn stars or adult film stars or like sleazy LA, right? Like there's these more surface level things that feel like they're going to appeal to you. This one, what I was really noticing again today, right, is to your point, this is just a fucking brutal family drama, right?
Yeah.
And if you've been through anything like that, maybe the horror of that is very pointed, right? Like I felt it took me back to that kind of horror of the pandemic phase, right? And I was telling my wife, I've had this a lot recently, right? Because we're trying to make movies and, career stuff. Like I always chose my creative path over a career. Well, now I'm hitting middle age and you're like, was that the right choice? So I've been having this fantasy a lot. If I could go back in a time machine, where would I go back? When would I drop in? And like with my current knowledge and body and like my goals, where would I drop in and be able to fix it, right? Well, then you start saying like, that's fucked up. What if my kids didn't exist? What if I didn't meet my wife? Like, what about all the good things I have? So, this kind of troubled moment. And that's what this movie is. This movie is the time machine experiment we all do in our head, which is, let's say I could go back and wake up on the first day of college. Like I would have done it all different and better. That's what this is, right? It's Pearl's mom, Ruth, looking around at just how absolutely fucking cruel the world has been to her. And then looking at Pearl, who's like, not for me, I'm going to be the one. And her violent reaction to that. Like, why do you think you get to be the one and I get to be treated this way?
Oh,
and
no.
there's just this, it's this, because again, the way X was so much about the fear of our decaying flesh, this one is the fear of our decaying dreams.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I love Pearl is able to do something. Knowing how heinous Pearl's crimes will be in the first film, you don't expect to relate to her at all.
Yeah.
But the part of Pearl that's just a young person who has a dream, who doesn't want to get stuck in the small place where they grew up.
Yep.
Who is pushing back against naysayers in her life. That part is very relatable.
Yeah.
It's very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she is a psycho. So
yeah, she's definitely
that
doing
great
some
tension.
extra shit, right? Like her aggressions are coming out in very unhealthy ways, right? Like going to the movies and just being like, wow, I want to be up there. I want to be with those people. We all did that. That's why we find ourselves here, right?
Yes.
The movies were our great escape, right? I get that. I even kind of get fucking a Scarecrow, right? Like, even that, you're like, that's child's play, right? If you were running for vice president, maybe it's a couch. Maybe some of us, it was a novelty bear slipper. Like, there are things, right?
There are things.
Things happen, right? You're young and you have all this vivacious energy. I get it. Like, even the Scarecrow thing, I totally understand. With Pearl, there's always that extra layer, though, where you're like, right? Like when she's trying on her mom's nice things, and her mom's like, who said you could fucking try that, right? It's this beautiful microcosm kind of stating the theme of Her trying to steal and inhabit what her mom never got, right? Okay. All right, I'm with you. You're like, I'm with Pearl. And then, it's like, bathe your father. But she's kind of like really weird around her father every time they're
It's
naked
weird.
together. And you're like, all right, Pearl, that's a step too far. The goose is a step too far. The seeing the Scarecrow as the projectionist and the way you scream at it, you're like, I mean, I'm sorry, Pearl, that's like the 15th red flag. Like, now I'm seeing things where I'm like, you're not just a girl with a dream. Like, this is what separates you from Dorothy, right? Is I feel like you would go to Oz and fucking be like, no, I'm the fucking witch now, right?
Yes.
She would fucking snap that fucking Wicked Witch of the West neck and be like, you all work for me now.
Well, Pearl's mother is, I love this character.
Yeah.
She's, and having been one of those kids who had a dream, and my mother is an immigrant, first generation to the US, and she grew up with her parents, came over. I've got immigrants on both sides of my family. And I know this is a generalization, but I find that sometimes folks who immigrate to the United States go a couple different routes in terms of their parenting. Either that you have the ones that are like, yes, I came here so that you could have a dream. Or you have like my parents were that are like, no, go to Healed and become a secretary. We came here so you could have a steady paycheck.
Yeah,
None of
there's
this dream bullshit.
good normal jobs here, right? Like, we
Right.
want you to have that Leave It to Beaver American dream,
Yes.
not, like Pearl's American dream, right?
Yeah. So her mother, a lot of what she says actually makes sense when you're an adult and you've seen some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like she tells Pearl to wear the mask because, you have the Spanish flu going around.
Yes.
It's like she talks about the 8 cents. 8 cents to us sounds like not a big deal. 8 cents in 1918, if you're poor, is a big deal. Tells her, hey, we have to be frugal because it's just you and me trying to keep this farm running.
Yeah, that could pay a farmhand for a day to help you like get crops and all that. Yeah, it's again, this world, they also do a great job in this. Like, to me, this is just, it's the most complete and powerful of the screenplays for this trilogy, right?
Yes.
Whereas, again, I think something with Maxine you notice is just how surface it is and how it all feels kind of hodgepodge together. This is so tight, right? And it's so, it achieves a depth that the other two just fail to reach ever, right? And what they do is they keep adding layers to this world, right? So we're German immigrants who moved to this farm in Texas for the American dream. We can't do it by ourselves. We need help. That is a great symbolism to put this movie in, right? Because they can't do it by themselves. Then all of a sudden you take away the father to the Spanish flu, right? And he's kind of this husk of a man watching, this like withered, we're not American Gothic anymore. Now it's just the lady holding up the guy, right? That's great. The daughter seeing what happens to the older body, right?
Yeah.
That's a great moment that we all relate to, right? With COVID, that was a lot of our COVID fights as young people are like, fuck you, man. I'll be fine. Like, you old fuckers won't be fine. I'll be fine. And they were willing to risk it, right? And then the old people are like, well, you're risking me. Fuck you. And that was a lot of the fights we had as they became these kind of political, ideological fights. And a lot of them were centered around age gap, right? So you see that. You also see the, I want to go enjoy the things of the town, right? Like hard candies and morphine or fucking, what is it? Morphine. And go watch the fucking Follies.
Yeah.
And mom's like, bitch, I'm here doing all this farm shit and I'm cooking food and I'm wiping your dad's ass. This fucking sucks. You have to help me.
Yeah.
And Pearl being like, no, I didn't choose this fucking life. And it's just, you watch them layer on and it is this fucking just land field, right? Just landmine laden field of just miseries and traumas. Her husband, right? She found a husband from a rich family that she thought would take her out of there. But he wanted to go to World War I and prove himself, right? How about the fact that her mom is a German immigrant as we're fighting fucking... There's a point when she's reading about how Howard could come back in the news. And she goes, I don't want to hear about any more dead Germans today. Like, this movie, it's everything in the world has turned on them. And how do you respond? Do you fucking harden? or do you fucking go to fancy, right? And that I just think they set this script up so brilliantly compared to the others.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you get all those tensions in this family, and they're trapped on this farm together, and they're trapped in this predicament together, and they're not working together. They're working against each other.
They are trying their very absolute best to dodge each other at all turns.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know what's funny? I've read this little piece of trivia that I did not know. Tandy Wright,
yes, Ruth,
who plays the mother, was the intimacy coordinator on X.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah, what the hell?
I love that the most austere, authoritarian, puritanical character in Pearl was the intimacy coordinator on X.
Yeah, I kind of love the thought of her just like scowling at everyone, like, don't fucking try it. Mr. What is it, Cuddy? Mr. Kid Cuddy, don't. Yeah, I'm not trying to throw accusations at anyone.
And she learned German for this role.
She what?
She learned German for this role.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
It's so funny. I guess I think of the intimacy coordinator as more of like a, kind of a head in the clouds. See, this sounds mean. There's no way I'm going to say this without sounding rude. I'll say it plainly. It feels like you would get your more kind of hippie adjacent people, right?
Sure.
Like the kind of people that are like, would you try this water that's been charged by the moon to heal your body? I have a lot of friends that are like this. I love those people.
Yeah.
I think you need these people who live in these fanciful worlds where moonlight can cure shit, right? Those people, when they would tell me like, oh, I'm going to try to be an intimacy coordinator. Because we ourselves have been talking to people who are trying to become intimacy coordinators. And they're like, hey, can I do that on your movie? And, we'll all benefit together. You're like, all right, cool. So I'm starting to meet people that do this job. A lot of them are that. I have never thought of the fucking hard-ass Nurse Ratched type intimacy coordinator. And I kind of love it. I kind of love this for sure.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. Don't even try it. Don't even bring that weak shit to this set. I love that. I think there's something to this. I think Tandy Wright should be everyone's first call for intimacy coordinator.
She's got several credits of working
amazing. I love
as an intimacy coordinator, and she has some acting credits too.
I think I feel so safe. I'm sitting there with my little, dong and those sock thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I know Tandy's gonna keep me right. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally fine to sit here with my bulbous naked body out because Tandy got me.
I love her performance, and I mean Mia Goth. We'll talk about Mia Goth, but the mother is, because this is not the first time we've seen the hard ass.
No, this is very Carrie, right? This relationship immediately summons Carrie vibes to me.
Yeah, we've seen this, but I love you get the moments. Like there's one point where Pearl's mom kind of softens. She's actually pretty gentle when she tells Pearl that getting what you want isn't the most important thing in life.
Yeah, well, she tries to like kind of flit around it where she's saying it like that, but what she's really saying is you will not get what you want.
Yeah.
You just won't.
Yeah, because it's clearly her experience.
Yeah. She's like, look, this is what I was you. I had fucking dreams, right? Imagine like, I went from Germany to America and started a farm. Like, I clearly had fucking dreams. They're not yours. They're not coarse girl dreams. I had dreams too, man. This is the cost of dreams, right? Sometimes you wake up in a dream and just what's left, that's your life now.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's not, and I think that's the thing. Like Carrie's mom is never relatable.
No.
She's like a full religious zealot who's been hurt and is now just hurting others. Ruth has been hurt by life, right? I mean, she says it many times, like, this is supposed to be my partner. I'm not his mom. Like, this is what happens. You think I want to do this? You get the sense that maybe this was even the father's dream, right? And she got dragged along, that her dream was, maybe something else, and now she's here, right? So we never know what Ruth actually wanted.
It damn sure wasn't what she got.
No, because what's important with Ruth is as she's yelling and being stern, and we're all watching it as like movie nerds. We're like, let that girl do what she wants. Oh, wait, but she's probably a serial killer. Wait, she is. We know that. But then you just go, there's a scene, right, that I really loved rewatching. That it never really weighed on me enough the first time, but it did this time. That moment, and I think every adult has probably done this, right? When Ruth goes out to meet Superman, he shows her a fucking jack-off film.
Oh,
We'll get to
Pearl.
that in a minute. And she sneaks back in the house, right? It's late, man. She's been over there for, what, a couple hours? She's got a bike to town. Let's say her mom's been in bed for 3 hours. She comes home. Her mom is awake in bed,
Oh,
weeping.
yes.
Weeping for the state of her life. That she has to wake up again tomorrow and do this all over again. But yet when she wakes up and we see her, she's fucking hard. She's got her defenses back in place. But by herself, alone and quiet in the dark, she thinks her daughter's asleep. She weeps. She weeps for the state of herself in the world. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that a lot, man. To me, that's what makes her relatable. That's what lets this story sink in so much more, is just there are just days where you're just, and we just went through, like, the pandemic and all that shit, where you're just like, what do you do in the face of just unrelenting events of that scale? What do you do when you fucking realize the oppression of the clock and, like, you're not getting another chance, right? That make the best of what you have, that fucking looming specter of time and disease and sickness in the fucking world and war, right? Like everything. It's and she does what we all do. You just fucking cry. You cry because we can't fucking do it. We can't handle it. And then the next morning you put your fucking old lady boots on and you do it again. Right? And to me, that's what separates and that kind of care with this character. She is not a cartoon.
No.
Like almost every character in this franchise is mostly a cartoon person.
Yeah, pretty surface.
Except for, I would say, Ruth and Pearl in this one get the chance to exist and go that deeper level.
Yeah, these are characters that are complex, that aren't all one thing. They aren't all wrong. They aren't all right. And there's that dance that they do as a family, as a mother and daughter, this complicated web of feelings that people have when you live together, when you've got history together.
Yeah.
All the tension.
Yeah, when they're arguing over hard candy, it's not really about hard candy.
It's not really about hard candy. That kind
of family fight. You're like, we got some shit we need to fight about again.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for the ripcord, right?
I love it.
It's tough to sit in, man. It's fucking tough.
Yeah. Well, you brought up the projectionist. Let's talk about Pearl's dalliance with the projectionist.
Yeah, who knew that they just saw this guy and they're like, that guy looks like a fucking small town Clark Kent. And you're like, wait a second, is he showing jack-off films? Is this guy a pornographer or a prevert? Is he a pervert? What's happening?
I love it.
But again, I like this too because Corn Sweat doesn't get to do a lot in the movie. He's just kind of having a cig. He's like, I will say red flag one. Hey, come bum a cig off me in a pandemic. It's like, all right, this guy, he's making bad choices. All right, fair enough. And then all of a sudden, he's just like, do you believe in vaccines? It's like, no, God, no. But he's just inviting her back. Hey, come back. Seems like, basic hitting on a lady. When she comes back and he pulls her in and he starts playing the jack-off film.
Mm-hmm.
This, to me, I thought was another great... Because, again, this movie also is a real, like, kind of love letter to movies to me.
Yeah.
Like, you can't watch, like, that World War II number when Pearl... I mean, this is, like, a love letter to bygone eras of Hollywood to me, too, right? But her just up there watching that, and she's like, well, they're still on the screen. People still like it. They're still watching you. It really shrinks the cinema dream down to, like, a relatably disgusting level, right? Which is, is there really a lot of like artistic pursuit, or is it just people begging to be seen, to be blown up to the size to fit that screen so that people have to look at you, right? And I think a lot of actors and directors and shit would have a hard time admitting, but it's like, just fucking see me. See me, right? I think a lot of writers and directors, it's like, see what I'm going through. The actors, it's like, see me with emotions, like I'm a real fucking person. A real person that is like you. You can be with me. And I think watching Pearl do the math of, I'd still be wanted. Someone would still be covetous of me. There's something that kind of shrinks the cinema, the coarse girl, the pristine golden age Hollywood movie where you're like, that's like 200 dancers in perfect unison on incredible sets.
Yes.
That feels so far gone. It's like when I saw Jurassic Park and you're like, I never was going to be a guy who got to make Jurassic Park. But maybe I could make a movie. It's in the same ballpark, right? I think there's a disgusting shrinking of the dream. It's so weaponized and pointed, right? Because this whole movie is about personal damage to us, right?
Sure.
To the audience, reminding us of the world we live in and our own fucking Ruths out there waiting for us.
Well,
What did you make of the pornographer turn?
So I thought it was really interesting, the conversation that they have about this pornographic film that he puts on, which, let's just say, in 1918, for this to be his big come on, this being how he's going to come on
This
to
was
Pearl,
probably
that's
fucking
bold.
wild back then.
That's bold.
Right? This is like being in the 80s and being like in small town nowhere, and it's like, have you heard of cocaine?
Right.
And they're like, what?
I'll also say, I mean, you already kind of get a tip off to this guy, what this guy is like, because he's hitting on war widows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
War widows or women who are waiting for their husbands to come home,
Waste
who
not,
might not
want
come
not.
home. Yeah,
Waste not, want not, dude.
he sees an opportunity.
Yeah,
But-
these are also people of like, is this like the recession's already happening or it's about to? And you're like, hey, man. Hey, sorry, dude.
Yeah. But when he puts this film on for her and they're talking about it, and he says that we all have a fascination with seeing people, with watching people as they really are. So like the voyeur aspect, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And Pearl, her perspective is, no, I don't like reality.
She doesn't, one of the things they do weaponize against Pearl in this is when her mom's like, they'll know. They'll see you.
They'll see through you. Yeah.
What you are. Right? So you can put on the big smile and the coarse girl thing. They will fucking see what you are. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
And again, that really gets back to this kind of like wanting to be a movie star. Just, again, I think stars in general are so dehumanized in our mind.
Oh, for
like
sure.
when I think of Tom Cruise, I don't think of a human being. Like, to me, I don't imagine that Tom Cruise, like, eats sandwiches or goes to the bathroom.
Right.
Right? That Tom Cruise, like, goes to tie his shoes and he can't breathe because he's a little overweight, right? Like, I don't imagine Tom Cruise has human moments. He is a product to me, the same as all of them, right? Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, whoever. Robert Downey Jr., I don't think of these people as people, right? And again, not just me, I'm guessing most people don't.
Right.
They are these greater things than us that we watch from afar.
Yeah, they see the character.
And I think a lot of times that's where that old kind of saying comes from is don't meet your heroes. Because we have invented them to be these fucking large scale, better than us things. And then you meet them and you're like, oh, they are still us. And they do have our foibles and this and that. And so I think Pearl confronting the like, oh, they wouldn't just see me like Scarecrow riding. They'd see me with murderous intent. They'd see me as like the embodiment of all these fucking deadly sins. Like that is a really fascinating element to add to the movie.
It is. Well, and then too, just the projectionist is talking about this pornography like, oh, that's real. But we know from X, we know from our own lives where now porn is everywhere. I mean, that's not real either.
Right. There is
once the camera's going
of, as Clive Barker would put it, flesh, right?
Yes.
But that's not how people have sex, right? That's not how people make love. That's not, most people can't do what those people do. It's
a performance.
It gets
a
to
fantasy.
This other thing though, right? When we see Ruth and Pearl's final showdown, where they're fucking laying into each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's watching two people be real.
Yeah.
We almost never see that anywhere in life. Most people wait to fight when they're behind closed doors. Most people wait to cry when they're lying in their bed, right? We almost never see anything that resembles that, right? Maybe like violence when we see people like, you know,
Sure.
the
Well, because that
insurrectionists.
feels powerful.
Right, when you see people who like just can't handle it anymore at a bar and they start beating the shit out of each other. You know, when you see like PDA and two people are just like, we gotta fuck now. There are these little outbursts. And we all look at that and we're like, in public? What? Because we are so trained to not fucking have reality
Yes.
in our moments, right? We don't want that. We don't want to be walking down the street and see real shit. Everything is facade. And I think in a weird way, Pearl knows that better than everyone else.
Mm,
Pearl knows the value of the mask, especially. Right?
yeah.
And I think it's kind of fun to watch like the top hat where she puts it on and where she hands it to like Corn Sweat. I think there's something to that. And I think in a way we all become the father. Right? Where Pearl just kind of asks, are you still in there to him at one point?
Yeah.
That was a really pointed line. But to me, it also kind of felt like she was talking to the audience, right? Like, are you still seeing this? Like, are you still with this? You're still... Because it felt like one of those we're building up to, like, we're watching this at almost... Again, after X, we think it's going to be this, like, journey of titillation. Now you see the pornographer projectionist, and you're like, okay, this feels like the movie I thought we were doing. Her with the Scarecrow, you're like, okay, yep. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, right? By the time they get to that table, it is a, like, are you still in there? And watching the father's, like, shocked face.
Oh,
His
man,
horrified, frozen fucking visage. That, to me, is what I felt like watching it, where I was like, oh, God. Like, you know, you've been there. You've been at that table where, like, it all boils over. Hopefully not to this extreme.
Hopefully not.
And it is. It's just like, this is fucking real. This is what you wanted, right? Or this is what you didn't want. You wanted the titillation. This is what you get. And I think that's what Pearl does that to me makes it by far the most engaging journey. Like, there is a volcanic element to that movie after this kind of slow, long, brutal family drama we've been on.
Yeah.
That as we start to release, you're just like, holy shit, man.
Yeah. And it's watching Pearl unravel.
Yeah, because you're still even kind of with her, even as Ruth's yelling at her.
Yes.
Like, Ruth picks up the knife and then puts it down. So you're like, she's trying to intimidate her, right? And then Ruth is the one who fucking starts throwing hands. And you're like, all right, well, fuck her. You should smack her back. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know.
Whoa, baby.
Yeah, this is getting a little... I know Pearl squeezed the egg and saw Howard blow up, but this is...
yeah, she did.
This is a wild fucking reaction, Ruth. Don't do it.
And it's only going to get wilder.
You know, the, like, you will fail. And I want you to always remember that fucking failure. And I want you to remember that that's how I felt every fucking day seeing you and being your mom.
Ooh, brutal.
It's awful.
Brutal.
It's brutal. And that's the kind of shit you're like, entire fucking, you know, millionaires have been made in therapy office because of parents who say shit like that, right? That just like cutting, I never wanted you. You fucking ruined everything. I mean, it is like in that moment, Ruth becomes monstrous for sure. But in a...
That's real world horror.
Real world monster, right? Like, we probably said shit like that to our parent or sibling. Or our parents said shit like that to us in anger. And you hope that you just come back and you're like, that was fucked up. We all apologize. We didn't throw each other in fires. You know, throw boiling water on each other. And like the way Pearl just fucking drags her down those stairs.
Ooh.
Knowing her body's covered in burns and the misery and pain she must be in.
Yeah.
There is such a... She has now deemed her just fucking trash. Just unworthy trash and filth. And it's brutal. Like the brutality of this moment, both real and physical, or emotional and physical. There's nothing in the trilogy that compares to this kind of turn.
No. Pearl, who's always in full escape from reality, on some level is trying to escape reality.
Yeah. That's
Faced
what the
with what
basement
she's
is. That's
done.
where you put things that you don't want to acknowledge anymore.
This is too real. It's too ugly. I can't look at it. Put her in the basement.
Yeah.
Fiddle-dee-dee. I'll just go about, do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at this.
Pornographer. It's like, what?
Oh, man.
Like, imagine this. Think about the escape from reality. She comes back the next day, Her dad's still sitting at the table with all the food. There's maggots on the
Yeah.
porch. Mom's banging around in the basement. Dad's sitting in his own shit, just left to be an abject terror and whore without his morphine, whatever. She steps back in and immediately starts trying to rewrite a version of this. That to
Yes.
me was depraved, right? And you see Core and Sweat start to be like, uh-oh, uh-oh.
Watching his reactions as now let's put this out on Front Street.
Yeah.
This guy never intended to take Pearl to Europe, to take
They're
her
not
anywhere.
going to Europe, no.
He never intended that. Now, he kind of shines her on because he's probably hoping to get laid a couple times more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he,
maybe she's good at it, right? Maybe she's an attractive lady in a small farm town, and he's
yeah,
like,
it's
all right,
something
dude,
to do.
I fucking got something here.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
he might if everything
Yeah,
at the
pornographers
farm.
probably live a more vagabond life, moving from town
He
to
calls
town.
himself a bohemian.
Right? Yep, red flag. That's a man red flag. Yeah, anyone who calls themselves bohemian, you're like, that's not my favorite. That
But
is
like,
it. That is trying to pre-excuse bad behavior that's coming down the road.
right. If he had just dropped her off and not gone into the farm, maybe maybe they would have hooked up another time or two. But this guy was not sticking around. He wasn't taking her anywhere. But
Well, imagine him. Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go.
seeing the farm
Mm,
and her like, oh, we're gonna go to Europe, and she's already planned out their whole future. Like watching his reaction as he takes in the scene, as he catches her in lies, her childishness really starts to come out, like how
yeah.
like childish she is. He's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
No.
I have made
No.
several mistakes. Well, it's like when she's trying to fuck him on the bed, and he's like, "What's that fucking banging?" He's like, "That could be your fucking husk of a father down there." Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, all of a sudden, it's like we're not just banging above a movie theater that plays dirty shows,
Right.
right? Like the kind of like weird romantic element of that, I guess, if that's your thing. This is real. This is like a real fucking house of like, oh, there's bad things in this home. I don't want to get an erection in here.
No.
And Pearl's like, why have you gone cold on me? What's happening? And it's like she can't fathom the way other people would perceive these things,
Yeah.
right? Because she's not participating in this reality anymore. She has moved on to the next thing. And it is just this, like watching her kind of size him up and like, I'm not going to fucking Europe. Like, fuck him. Oh, whatever. I've still got my audition. But we watch her start to fucking turn on him. And him be like, this is fucking crazy. I got to get out of here. And
Yeah.
when she stabs him, you're like, yep. Like this was coming,
There's
right?
Pearl.
Like she was on the verge of a release somehow. This is it.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been WAP or murder. This is it. And you get the sense that this was coming anyways. That, you know, because the mother hints at like, I've seen what you do when you're alone. I know who the fuck you are. She fucking kills him, and they have that great, like she stabs him in the face, kind of stomps on the thing. Which that screaming howl becomes the kind of like siren call of the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Is that you or no one, not you, not anyone, is going to stop me from becoming a star, right? The whole world's going to know my name. I need to be fucking seen. That sentiment starts to take over. And now
Yeah.
she's
And
going
and she
into
sounds a lot
full-
like Maxine in that moment.
exactly the same as Maxine,
Right.
right? When she sees herself as Maxine in X, this is what it is, right? Because in the movie X, it plays as I remember having a young, healthy body. We see that they look exactly the same in a picture, so it kind of hints at like maybe there's some connection, like one of those movie like don't ask too many questions kind of thing.
Mm.
But it's this, because it is kind of weird, right? She says that to him. It's this fucking brutal moment of truth, right? I've now killed a person. I'm fucking, you know, this, that. She tells her mom, she's like, I want you to remember the pain. This is how I felt every time you looked at me. So she's dealing out real world pain and suffering right now. Why do you think she cleans up the dad to then fucking smother him, right? Because it kind of pushes past onto this image of a canary stuck in a golden cage, right?
Mm.
Why does she make him up just to kill him?
I think part of this is that whole Pearl doesn't want reality. Reality's ugly and mean and gross and sad. She wants to dress him up, you know?
Yeah.
And I think too, she mentions in talking with her father at one point that, you know, she needs to get out of here. Howard was supposed to take her out of here. He let her down. She needs to get out of here. And the one thing she feels bad is that she's going to have to leave her father.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that tension between, I think she cares about her father,
Shusho casually chokes him.
but he's 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 holding her there, right? She resents having to be stuck there taking care of him, but she loves him. So it's, I'll dress you up, I'll make your death nice, I'll put you out of your misery and me out of the misery of taking care of you, but I'm going to dress it up and make it nice. And
Yeah. It'll be a
I,
cutesy thing.
yeah, I gave you dignity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird because she does seem to like him. I did wonder if it's the movie telling us that it's easier for her to love him because he can't see her. He can't say anything
Right.
back to her. He can never, in the way that the mom is all resistance, he has to be passive based on his condition.
Yeah.
So she gets to have this imagined relationship with him now. Right? And we don't know how long he's been infirmed. It might not have been a long time. Like maybe he was a great dad and they had a good vibe, right? But there is a sense that she likes the passiveness of their relationship now.
Definitely.
And she does fucking choke him, right? When she's in the bathtub. And she does ask, "Are you there?" And kind of fucks with him, right? And so she has to see her father seeing her for what she is. There's a moment, yeah, that moment feels very much to your point, like there's a performative, right? I'm going to set things right and then leave. So that when someone comes and finds the house, they'll see my father in this state of dignity.
Yeah.
And they'll see my mother in this state of fucking trash that she belongs in. And she's got her dress, man. She's riding off into the sunset. I thought that was a pretty striking moment, right? Like there's a lot of psychosis built into that idea, which I fucking definitely dug. All right,
Yeah.
the audition. We
Oh
just
man.
kind of keep stacking like fucking insane scenes on top. This movie
Yes.
makes you wait for it. I'll give audiences that. I had a friend who specifically straight up said this was his least favorite because of how boring it is, which I find an insane thing to say out loud when you think about like the last act of this movie. This audition scene is fucking crazy. Take away the World War
Poor
II, like
Pearl.
kind of like fucking set and dancing. That's just kind of a cool, like, wow, I've never really didn't think it was going there. Interesting. The tension of knowing what she's done and what she'll become, right? The tension of knowing that it doesn't work for her
Mm.
and watching that audition. That moment of her kind of like face up to the sky, like living her fantasy still, thinking she's done something. And that voice, that old man voice creeping in. Thank you, that's enough. Next, it is so fucking hard to watch.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
her trying to process it and just, I'm a star, please help. That is, to me, that is so much scarier than almost anything you see in movies. Like, that moment haunted me. Like, truly haunted me.
it's, and again, you know, for people who have had a creative dream, I mean, some of this is relatable, right? Like
Yeah, lost a lot of auditions. Yeah, for sure.
you want it real bad. And
You
you're
do
going to
this
go
great
up
thing where you're
there.
like, every role that you don't get, you're like, that probably was the one. That probably was the one that was going to make me super
Sure.
successful. Yeah.
And, you know, Pearl, one difference between Pearl and Maxine that becomes very evident here is that Pearl, in her delusion, she's putting it all on this one audition. I will nail this audition. They will give me the part that will lead to my stardom. And so not getting this, and she was never going to get it, because once she kind of presses, like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's done? And he says, we wanted someone younger and blonde.
Yeah, we wanted someone more like the American ideal. There's this
Yeah.
cutting like anti-immigrant sentiment. This you literally, she's like the literal black hat of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, we see you. You're not what people want to see up there. So it is this weird, you know, like for many levels it's cutting right through Pearl's carefully crafted outward appearance. And she's like, oh my God, they fucking see her. And then we see the melted visage of her mother on the panel, just like, fucking told you.
Told you.
And again, not the way she thought, but that's the movie's telling us she's seeing her mother's words.
Yes.
Not just like, hey, we just wanted a blonde lady. We just wanted a blonde lady, right? Which a lot of casting just comes down to, yeah, do they look at you and instantly imagine the character, right? That's one of the hardest things
Sure.
to understand and
not
imagine.
Because you're not skilled or talented.
Tons of it is just you're not the look, right?
Right.
Something about you is not what we need. Or like, you're too tall, you're too this, you're too... Like, a lot of it is that. But actors see it how Pearl sees it, right? Some kind of personal fucking attack.
A personal attack.
This is a personal, I am not enough and cutting attack in some way. What way? In her way is exactly what her mother said, is that you are fucking cursed to fail. You are cursed to be seen for the monster that you are. Her just screaming and wailing as they try to drag her out of there. That's like one of those I like want to like just skip the scene. I'm like,
oh yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to watch. And this is what sets Maxine apart, because we'll see in the last film of the trilogy. We'll see in Maxine someone who has had to put in their fucking dues.
Yeah.
You can't let it all ride on one audition, on one opportunity, shooting your one shot. That's not how it works for anybody.
You gotta shoot a lot of shots. Yeah. You got to Kobe that shit. You got to take the shots.
It's not like that for anyone. Even the most, beautiful Cinderella story, Hollywood Cinderella story, there's multiple attempts.
Yeah.
No one's a star in the first,
It's just, even the world she lives in is just smaller, right? Like in X, you can jump in the van. In Maxine, you can get a VHS camera, record yourself if you want, right? We have straight to video, Mark. So Pearl's is extra brutal because she's the one who really has to go like hat in hand to someone else to help make this happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's Howard, her parents leaving Germany, this pornographer, this fucking, Monopoly ginger guy at the thing is just like, you're not the one. Like she's constantly waiting for someone else to see her fake crafted Pearl and say yes. But that's what I mean. It's so much. This movie is just working at a more interesting level to me.
Agreed.
Than the others. And again, that personal attack level, that deep fucking seated human fear. That to me is why this is the one I go back and watch, not the other two. Because a lot of what I'm doing in a horror movie is I want to connect or grapple with those things in a safe space. This movie's got a lot of the shit that like scares the fuck out of me.
Yes.
And especially it scares the fuck out of me right now. Like this movie's capturing that. And yeah, I'll give people this. This is not nearly as fun as X or Maxine. But to me, it is 10 times the movie. Like it's better across the board. The script is better. The performances, it's not even close. They shot the fuck out of this movie, right? Like I fucking adore everything they're putting down in this film. Now, again, we keep talking about like volcanic scene after volcanic scene.
Yeah.
The ending of this movie is something that just left me and my wife going into the lobby just like, we could barely talk about it when it happened, right? Like you could barely... We didn't want to put words to cheapen what we had just seen, I think, is like a kind of a dickhead way to say it, right? Like I'm such an art appreciator. But I think it was just like her spilling her guts and like real fucking truth. Exactly like you said. They want to see real up there. That was it, man. That was real fucking pouring out shit. And that scene is fucking long. That is a long fucking one take. No fucking trickery. Just an actress going for it. And
it earns every second.
Fucking soul out. And yeah, me and my wife just kind of sat in like silence for a while in the car. And then my wife just literally is like, I love her. I love her. I think she's like the best. And I was like, same. Like she fucking melted my face off. What do you even say? This is when her cousin who got the role, right? Because it's
her sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, that's right.
So this is Howard's sister.
Howard's sister. And she says, just pretend I'm Howard and say what you want to say. And man, oh man,
She did
she
not know.
fucking uncorks it big time. She fucking uncorks it in a way that the reason to do this movie is to understand the character Pearl from the movie, but not even. It's really just an excuse to have fun in that same world, right?
Yeah.
To use the set they'd already built for the first one. I did not expect them to fucking give me such a complete, like, Renaissance mastery level portrait.
Yeah.
A Pearl, even down to the, I had a baby in me. I was fucking repulsed and disgusted by it growing inside of me. I think life is terrifying. Like, why would I was proud. I was happy when that thing died in me. Even that tidbit, you're like, oh my fucking God. You're like, imagine Howard and Pearl having a kid on that farm. Right? Imagine this lady we've
Yeah, that'd
seen,
be
like,
bad.
when she has an audition the next day, but the baby won't let her sleep. Like, it invents these new fucking terrors, right? Her vapid chase of money, right? We hear about that as she's saying it right to her sister-in-law, who clearly she cannot see is not Howard. Like, she's entered this deeper, scarier level of the fantasy. She talks about the murderous things, and she's like, I loved it. Like, I loathed how much I loved it.
Yeah. I loved killing the little small animals.
Yeah, just like
But then mom.
it's fucking crazy. It is. It's like one of those. I remember I love watching those. They had a series on one of the true crime things for a while, and it was just replaying back like the audio tape interviews with serial killers. There's something so fascinating about serial killers just talking about why they did what they did and how they feel about it. And the first thing you always notice is the lack of the feeling, except for they have feelings, right? That's kind of a misnomer to me. The feelings are always, though, about self-aggrandizing.
Right.
They feel cheated. They feel scorned. They feel, underappreciate all that. They're just like, this thing didn't appreciate me, so I fucking killed it. My mom didn't appreciate me, so I killed what looks like my mother. And it's fucking wild. It's wild shit. And watching Pearl just unload in the truest, most honest way. I mean, I don't think I've seen a scene better than that in a horror movie in a long fucking time. Probably since Hereditary.
No, it's great. And this is so well crafted because,
Yes.
sometimes you watch a movie where the writing is not to this caliber. And this could easily just feel like, they came up with an excuse to give us a bunch of exposition.
Right.
But the way this is written and the way that it's performed, it's like so engrossing. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit.
it's like they opened up Pearl's head and were like in her brain.
Yeah. And it's fucking scary in there.
Yeah. And for a moment, there's a moment of feeling like Pearl's mother, like, oh, this is what Pearl's mother saw. Because we've had hints of it all along the way.
Yeah. We've definitely had hints that, like, and again, this is our second journey with her. We know what happens.
But this is the depth.
But it's also bizarre. It kind of works in two incredible ways as well. As one where the prequel nature of it being a prequel sequel, right? What is cool is that we've seen what Pearl's dream becomes, and her new dream is just for Howard to still covet her. Her dream is so small and sad in the next one. They're like, all of this fucking leads you to that. That's brutal for us as an audience.
Well, and
the other thing is the camera refusing to move. They literally strip out every single trick of acting and filmmaking and just plop us in there, right? So as we're watching it, it's like what, fucking 7, 8, 9 minutes, whatever it is. It just keeps going. The facade of the movie inherently wears off, right? When you think about like film theory and this and that, every time you cut is a reminder on a subconscious level to our mind that we are watching an unreality.
Right.
Right? That's just the nature of it. This strips all that out. They don't want to add even an ounce of authenticity to this moment. And you got to have someone like Mia Goth that can get you there. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of great performances are also and scripts are ruined by poor direction. Like, this is really just one of those, let's take out all the fucking tricks all the chicanery, and just fucking plants you right there. And it does feel like we are Misty, and that Pearl is just talking right to us about what she's experienced through these two movies.
She's finally getting real.
Yes.
Pearl finally has a real
Yeah.
moment where it's all stripped away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. And then you pair that with that final shot over the credits where it's just her like kind of grimace smiling, like her face is going to rip in half. That played to me then as her trying to recapture the fantasy.
Yeah. Well, and Howard's home now.
Yeah. Because Howard's looking at her kind of in horror, right? He sees the fucking maggots, the mold. He sees his fucking mutilated parents. She had this weird, creepy family dinner. She has this weird kind of ghostly reconnection with her mom. Because now her mom is also passive, so she can re-love her again. And Howard's taking all this in, and he looks at Pearl, and he's, oh my God. And we know that he accepts it eventually. And that he's not right. We read about the horrors that he experienced in World War I. We know he's coming back fucked up too.
Yeah.
And watching her try to smile and reforce the fantasy on both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like with scanner power, she can change the reality they're both in through sheer force of will. And the fucked up thing is we know she does.
Well, I
We
mean,
know she
kind
does.
of. Kind of.
Yeah, like I don't think Howard has the flights of fancy she has.
No.
But Howard also says, I'm willing to live in a world where you've murdered all these people, fed them to alligators, chopped my sister's body up with an axe while you set up your dead mom and dad. I am willing to accept that because you are everything to me.
I love this ending because of how it deepens that relationship between Pearl and Howard. If you go back and watch X, Pearl says in one of her rants that if Howard would stay and love her, it would be enough.
Yeah.
We know from watching X that that's not true.
But it would have been, except Howard didn't want to die of a heart attack from banging.
Right. But that's part
that
of
gets
life,
to,
right?
like, what does Pearl think of love, right? Because Howard can't be fucking anymore.
That's the reality.
Howard covets her.
Oh, yes.
Howard covets her in a way. I mean, maybe like Shape of Water gets really into this when it's like you see something as like the fucking vessel for every hope, dream you have, and escape, a better life. Like covets Pearl in a way that she so fucking wants. We see her that all she wants is to be coveted.
It's like those memes.
We have to
get someone who looks at you like this.
Exactly.
60 years.
Exactly. Yeah, 50, 60 years of just him. Everything she does is the greatest, the best, right? He's the only audience she needs because he gives everything. She didn't want to get stuck on this farm. Now they block out everything.
Well, they have to, because
like, does Pearl still go back into town these next
Pearl's
like,
a murderer, man. I don't.
Yeah, we have no idea. Like, do they go back into town ever? Does Howard sneak in? Do they have it? Like, there's so many questions.
Yes,
but what we know
delicious
is that
questions.
This farm becomes a cocoon of evil, right?
Yeah,
and that Howard, from that terrified soldier who's, what the fuck is happening in my house, to okay.
He willingly dedicates the next 60 years.
I am willing to make this fucking deal.
Yes.
That is scary. That's the kind of thing that it being number 2 adds a lot of heft to that moment. That if you're watching it as a prequel or just a standalone, you would lose some of that, right? I just think this movie is absolutely brilliant.
Me too.
Brilliant. And kind of, I enjoyed Maxine. But everything I loved about this movie gets fucking strip mined out of Maxine.
Yeah.
Maxine is a real fucking glitz and glamour. It's like buying the $5 Hollywood Boulevard t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It can be fun. And it's going to sound like I didn't like it that much. I did actually enjoy it. I watched it again. I thought it was a perfectly fine movie. I just think it had Maxine been number 2 and Pearl had been number 3. That feels like the order they should have done it.
Mm.
Because I don't think you get a comeback from watching Mia Goth go to this level.
Because Pearl blows you away
She
on every
fucking
level.
annihilates this movie. We can't then go back to Maxine and have her be so fucking hollow. And the whole journey just feels so kind of flitting around, right?
Yeah.
Which was this was a hard one to follow, man. And I know a lot of people like Maxine's their favorite of the trip.
Yeah,
I think
which
that
is
is
good.
the
Yeah, it's
beautiful
great.
element of this. Is they are kind of three disparate movies. Right? And I think it's great that they're not just clones of each other over. I love the Paranormal Activity series. I think it's a really fun gag that they did for multiple movies. They're not, you can't distinguish them that much. It's kind of the same, like, oh, I like that ride. I'll do it again. That's fun. It's like going on a roller coaster, right? All roller coasters do the same shit, just differently. These movies are different and unique and interesting. And I love that. I love what Ty West did with these. And I love that Mia Goth found ways to play them differently, right? I think it's beautiful. I mean, this movie to me is just power. It's powerhouse movie. I love it.
Agreed. Yeah, this is my favorite, and I love that when you talk or you read on social media or you see people's reviews, that people feel a lot of love for one more than another, and that's fine because they're all different. It's going to hit people differently. They're going to connect to it different. They want a different experience out of a movie.
Yeah.
And this trilogy, there's at least one that'll probably work for you.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe I grew up in like small rural area. Maybe part of that is why like that's the thing, right? There are different locales, there's different time periods. I mean, different groups of people. Like it really is such a fascinating kind of total swath of like the American dream.
Yeah.
And the creative, pursuits, man. I fucking love it, dude. I'm so excited to be back tomorrow to talk about Maxine with you. That's it for Carmelita Now. Technically, this is your last recording of the month. I would not be surprised if we have to come knocking because Carmelita's our like savior. We just come to you, we're like, Carmelita, we're bedraggled, we need help. And you're like, I will benevolently save you losers again. So you will hear Carmelita tomorrow. You will hear her for all 5 critters, which we did a while ago. And you might come back for more. Who knows? If you want to.
I would do it in a heartbeat, friend. See, you said that you took time for me. I would say you gifted me the opportunity.
Oh my gosh. So, see, that's how you win an audition, Pearl, right there. That's how you fucking schmooze an audition.
You gifted me the opportunity.
I do so love our chats. I do so love our chats.
Me too.
So that's it. You guys know the deal. 31 days, 31 pods. Tomorrow we'll be back with Maxine. Every single day this month, a brand new episode about a different movie. It's a lot of work. It would mean the world to us if you'd go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Why would you not want the last 3 episodes?
You want it.
This is I'm one of those people. I'm like a real like must complete the list kind of guy. I'm a collector. So that would drive me nuts. I would happily go donate. And join our great community, man. We have great friends over there. It's really fun. We have a lot of awesome content on that. Always finding ways to try to make that better and more cool for you guys. So please go over there. The YouTube is Film Alchemist. We're on all the socials. Help share clips and all that stuff. That means the world to us. Leave 5-star ratings and reviews. Email us, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Check out misfitparade.net to see the movies we're making. Also, check out my video work on Looper. You can find Carmelita on X and Letterboxd at Carmelita Says, correct?
That's me.
That's her. Do yourselves a favor. Find Carmelita over there. Thank you again. I don't know when we'll talk again. Hopefully soon. To you guys, we'll be talking the next 6 days on your feed. So.
Yes.